SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Rebel Rags, celebrating 20 years of bringing the best Ole Miss gear to fans everywhere. Visit the store on Jackson Avenue in Oxford or order online at rebelrags.net. That's rebelrags.net. Tell them, Molly.
Rebel Rags. Anything, everything, Ole Miss.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Discover Covington County Hospital's Swing Bed Program, offering comprehensive care for patients transitioning from acute hospital care to home. With a focus on rehabilitation, we ensure a smooth journey back to your home environment. Choose Covington County Hospital, where your health care matters.
And now, Sports.
Get ready, sports fans. It's time for Chasing Foul Balls on SuperTalk Pike County 93.5 and streaming worldwide on the SuperTalk Mississippi app and on your Amazon Alexa devices. Chasing Foul Balls, your weekly source for all the sports news and interviews important to Southwest Mississippi. Chasing Foul Balls is presented by Rainbow Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Macomb and by First Bank. And now, here's your host, Robbie Hamilton.
Well, good morning and welcome to Chasing Foul Balls, Friday morning edition right here on SuperTalk Pike County 93.5. I'm Robbie Hamilton, the entire Chasing Foul Balls crew with me this morning. Neil Randall, Richard Hay, and coming up later, the Big Daddy of Sports will join us, Reese Nunry. Well, guys, good news and bad news to start today. And the bad news we'll start with was the fact that our good friend and probably one of our favorite coaches passed away after a long battle with cancer. Joy Lee McNellis, the head basketball coach of Southern Miss Lady Eagles, passed away this week. It's so many things you could talk about. Associated with Southern Miss for 34 years. Has spent the last 21 years as the head coach of the Lady Eagles, 339 wins. She coached Memphis before that, had 229 wins at Memphis. Was the winningest coach still at Memphis as far as the lady basketball goes. She took Memphis to 4 consecutive NCAA tournament appearances. Let's see, one of 61 coaches in women's basketball history to put up at least 550 career wins. Neil, Joy Lee was one of my favorite people.
She really was, and she was always good to us whenever we called. If there was any way, she would come on and talk with us, and had a very competitive program, and obviously very well respected throughout her profession.
Yeah, right, Neil and Robbie. Thought about it when I got the news or saw the Facebook post that Coach McNellis had passed away, and I had the same thoughts, Neil. I said, many times we had her on, she was just a breath of fresh air. She was always upbeat, no matter what the situation was. She was going to conquer it, whether it was a game, Robbie, or something coming up, or when she was diagnosed with cancer. She never quit coaching. And how she impacted the young ladies' lives that she was around, showing the toughness that she had, and it was tough news, but she'll be missed definitely.
Well, in the early days, Chasing Foul Balls, when she would have her media day, she would have it out at her house by her pool, and she invited us over several times, and we got to go over there. And you kind of get a chance to be around the players and the coaches in a little bit different setting when you get to go to something like that. And Joy Lee was the same person, whether she was at her house or whether she was on the basketball court. She was always so good to us. And I remember the trips I made with Colin to the Women's National Basketball Community College Championships. Joy Lee would be their recruit. And she'd always come hunt me up, and we'd go over and sit on the coach's side and visit with her doing the other ball games. So sure hate to hear a long, hard battle she fought with cancer, but always one of my favorite people.
Absolutely.
Now, the good news. Last night, our buddy Elijah Martin was drafted by the Toronto Raptors into the National Basketball Association. what was it, round 30 or round 39, the 39th pick, 39th pick or the second round to Toronto. Neil, another local folk doing good.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is, y'all, that means that he is the 30, or in somebody's mind, he's at least the 39th best basketball player not in the NBA at this point, or as of yesterday. But this is a young man that came out of high school, and I'm not sure how many offers he had, Richard. But he went to Florida Atlantic and then to Florida, and he's at the top of the heap.
Right, Neil. And I remember back when he signed, a lot of people thought he was going to sign to play football.
Yeah,
and
quarterback.
A lot of people said, but his favorite sport is basketball. And he goes to Florida Atlantic, and in 3 or 4 years, they're in the Final Four. And then he transfers to Florida. And if you ever watched any of the games that he was playing in, Elijah's just an outstanding athlete.
Well, his coach left Florida Atlantic. That was Dusty Bonner, I think, went to Michigan. And a lot of those guys went in different directions, and he obviously made the right choice to go to the Gators.
But the Toronto Raptors got an outstanding person, outstanding player, and he's going to make it. There's no doubt in my mind he will.
Well, now we have Elijah Martin playing basketball. Elena Johnson had all the great publicity during the softball championships. Summit kind of on the map the last few weeks.
Summit's been on the map for a long time now. We go way back there.
But we always seem to have these young people playing very well at high-level sports and in all the different major pro sports and track and field even. So it's a tremendous area, even though we might be small in numbers.
College World Series, guys. LSU wins. What is that? The
eighth.
And their coach, Jay Johnson, was the American Baseball Coaches Association National Coach of the Year. They had record attendance at the World Series. What was it? 317,442 people. And that's the 6th consecutive national title in baseball for the SEC. That was a very good championship, Richard.
It was, Robbie. It was a lot of exciting games and wild finishes and
yes,
heartbreaks and enjoyment. But LSU, I've watched them all year, and their first two frontline pitchers were just dominant, and their bullpen at the back end would sometimes be shaky. It's maybe not hard to believe they got swept at Auburn, but they did. But they got on a roll during the regionals, and Coastal Carolina was a good foe and competitor, but not for the LSU Tigers.
Of course, we can't leave the World Series without talking about Game 2 and the ejection of the Coastal Carolina coach in the first inning by the umpire. Neil, you're our official umpire. What did you think about that?
Well, I didn't see it. I was en route at that time, but I saw I've heard a lot of comments about it, and I've seen a little on TV, and I've heard a lot of opinions. But it's just amazing to me that in a situation so high profile as the College World Series on national TV, coaches are going to harp about balls and strikes.
No,
they're just going to do it. They can't help it. But you can't listen to all of that, and I'll say that you just can't hear it. And get in the first inning, wow.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. That's foreign to me. Not to say that I've never had a coach holler at me about a ball or a strike.
Well, I've seen him throw one out at the plate before the game started. So,
well, that was in the pregame.
Yeah, Richard Williams.
That had a lot of history too.
What about you?
Well, Robbie, I was watching it, and there's different opinions, as Neil said, about it. But I thought the same thing. I said, I know you can't argue balls and strikes. We understand that.
You're not supposed to.
Not supposed to. But in that situation, you've got to, at some point in time, you have to draw the line and say, Coach, okay, you've said your piece. Okay, we're going to play ball. Let's go. And you move on. And having never been an umpire, that's the way I've always heard about it. Say, okay,
I've seen you umpire from the sidelines, Richard.
Yeah. But you don't get thrown out from the sidelines. But in the magnitude of that moment right there, like Neil said, I think you had to have a little more discretion instead of as quick a trigger as the home plate umpire had.
Well, I promise you one thing. Nobody in that 317,000 came to see the umpire.
Exactly.
The thing that got me was he threw him out, and he was still at the dugout. He didn't come out of the field and it was boisterous in his face and yelling. He was still in the side of the dugout when the umpire threw him out. Of course, they said this umpire had been fired from Major League Baseball because he had had many encounters with coaches and had a quick trigger, and they had let him go, and he backed that up.
Well, God bless them all.
So you didn't throw anybody out in the first inning?
I think you were correct about getting one in a pregame.
Oh, I saw the pregame. I saw that. Went on to be a major college basketball coach, and you threw him out of a baseball game in the first pregame at the plate.
I learned that
in game 2 of a doubleheader. That you threw him out in game 1 of the doubleheader.
I learned that from the late Walter Parker, and he said, "Good night. We're going to try to play this one without you."
Oh, our official right over there. He always got it going on. Best mythical player. Best mythical player. Bo Jackson, Babe Ruth, Wilt Chamberlain, Pete Maravich.
Whoa.
Best mythical player.
Well, if Bo Jackson hadn't hurt that hip, I think he would be at the very top of the list. Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt could do anything. He was a great hurdler at Kansas. He was a sprinter. I would say those two at the very top, and I'd give the edge to Wilt because he had a much longer tenure.
Well, Robbie, those other three guys are all. I saw Bo Jackson play football and baseball, and I still, when I get my MSU buddies around and we talk about plays at Duty Noble, him running a ball down when he was in right center field playing pool. He ran a ball down in left center field, and he was on cruise control. He never broke a sweat. And in football, he was just you couldn't stop him, and you saw that. And like you said, his career was short. I'd have to give Bo longevity. I agree with you about Chamberlain because he could play today in the NBA, and but I'd say both, Robbie.
Let's talk about a couple of more things before we get to this first break. And our guest, by the way, former LSU head basketball coach John Brady will join us. When you talk about one thing that really kind of gets me, and I don't understand it, how can you have week 0 of the football season? If you play in a game, it's a week of the football season, but they call it week 0. How can you have week 0, Richard?
They're the NCAA, Robbie. I don't know either. I've always thought that was kind of I don't know if it's they don't want to say how many weeks they play, and they don't want to add one more week because we know that the NFL season is 16 or 18 weeks long, and they don't want to be compared to them, even though they are. So they call it week 0.
Well, they're all professionals.
Now they are. Well, they were, and now it's out of the closet, as they say, Neil. But I don't know. I've never understood that, but I just know one thing. Whenever they say it's on, whether it's week 0 or -2 or 14, I'll probably be watching.
Well, I went back and looked it up. I couldn't figure out how you could call something week 0 if you were playing football games, but they said that in there that the official start of the football season was Labor Day weekend. And you had to apply to the NCAA to get a special waiver if you were playing the week 0 games. But now, guess what? NCAA is thinking about starting the season with week 0. That wouldn't have anything to do with money, would it, Neil?
As my good friend Mr. Nunnery says, we know what walks and we know what talks, and just follow the dollar.
If TV thinks they can make $1, they going to put it on.
Let's quickly go through a couple of things before we get to our John Brady with us this morning. I want you to go back and look at the website, Facebook page. Excuse me, not the website, the Facebook page, Chasing Foul Balls. There's an article in there. Read coaching softball tips and drills. Has a great article in there. It's under that heading. Read coaching softball tips, and go back and look at that. Boca Chica is having a Hardwood Club 3-on-3 basketball tournament. So it'll be a fundraiser. It'll be July 19th. It'll start at 9 o'clock in the morning. Information about that on the Facebook page. The MLK Gym, guys, are being open. Free play 2 to 4 weekdays through July the 17th. And here's, Neil, what I think I want to go to, the inaugural Mississippi Card Show. It's going to be held at the Mississippi Trade Mart Saturday, July the 19th. Some of the guests are going to be Dwight Gooden, Pierre Thomas, and the wrestler Lex Luger. That's Saturday, July 19th at the Mississippi Trade Mart. It'll be the inaugural Mississippi Card Show. So I think I want to take a trip to that one.
You've been to a few shows, memorabilia shows. You've still got a lot of memorabilia. I
got quite a bit of it. I'd like to probably sell part of it. At least Kay would like me to sell part of it anyway. I don't know about the other part. South Pike, Micah Nickerson has committed to Mississippi State football. And Park Lane's Rock Baskin Jr. has committed to play at Arby. So those are some of the things we wanted to make sure we got to. Go to our Facebook page, Chasing Foul Balls, if you would. Like it. We'd love to have you there. Join us during the week. And also, if you want to re-listen to this program for some reason, or you know somebody that did get a chance to listen, the show itself will be replayed, or have your chance to replay it at our Facebook page, Chasing Foul Balls. That'll come up sometime after about 1 o'clock this afternoon. You'll have a chance to listen back to it. We'll come back. John Brady will join us next. Former Gold Tiger and former head basketball coach at LSU, John Brady, will join us just a few minutes here on Chasing Foul Balls. So one more thing, guys, I want to get to. Richard DeWeese, the all-time winningest high school basketball coach in Mississippi history, is set to retire at the end of this coming season. He is the second amongst active high school coaches as far as wins. So Richard DeWeese will retire at the end of this after coaching MRA.
Well, he's been at it a long time. I don't know how old he is, but I think he's close to me in age. So it may be time for him to, as they say, Richard, smell the roses a little.
Well, you know, he's a legend in this state, and I don't know how many championships he's won, but he's always playing for him. I can promise you that. He might not have won it, but he's playing for him. And just like you said, Neil, I think it's in the last time I thought I heard it was somewhere around close to 40, or maybe a few years over 40-something years he's been coaching basketball, and that's just
maybe closer to 50.
Maybe, but it's a long, long time.
Yeah. Question: you may know the answer. I don't know. Why does Richard DeWeese always wear a visor?
I have no idea, Robbie.
Me either. I have to investigate that. Always had that red visor on.
Yep. So.
All righty. Well, guys, we're looking forward to this. The former Wacold Tiger basketball star, former head coach of the LSU Tigers, took the Tigers to the Final Four. Joining us this morning, Coach John Brady. Hi, John. How you doing?
I'm good, Robbie. How are you?
We hanging in there this morning. How's the golf game?
Well, I got a 15 handicap that travels pretty good, so I got it right.
Is that true 15 or is that a John Brady 15?
Well, I think it's a true 15, but I kind of sometimes you have to doctor that thing to keep it where it needs to be.
I understand.
John, this is Neil. Congratulations on going into the LSU Hall of Fame. Looks to me like you're in about every Hall of Fame now that you're even eligible for, but we're real proud of you. I want to toss one thing out to you here early. You played on some really good high school basketball teams with Bobby Nelson, with the Macomb Tigers. And when you came out of high school, you wound up going to Belhaven. I'm sure you had some other offers, but you obviously made the right choice in joining the Blazers and Coach Charlie Rugg.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, they ask me about my playing career and who I played for, and they tell me that sometimes I'm overbearing as a coach.
No, I can't believe
I got
that.
it. I got it natural. My father didn't put up with a lot of stuff, and I played for Bobby Nelson and Charlie Rugg, so I had no choice but to be a little overbearing at times. So, but it was a great choice. I was offered the Delta State, the Mississippi College, William Carey circuit, and but when I met Coach Rugg and his with his personality, I said I got to go play for that guy right there.
Coach Brady, this is Richard Hay. I remember your time when you were the assistant at Mississippi State, and I guess my question would be, as you talked about Coach Rugg and Bobby Nelson, and how did coaching with Bob Boyd? I remember a couple of games. They weren't pretty, but we won, and of course Richard Williams. How did those two coaches mold what you became as a coach?
Well, Bob Boyd's a great teacher of the game, and what he taught me was how to verbalize the game and communicate with players. And then, Richard is one of my dear friends in the world, and he was coaching at South Natchez when I was playing at Macomb, and we go back a long way. And I think Richard Williams is one of the best in-game coaches that I've ever sat with. And then I also worked a year at University of New Orleans with Tim Floyd, my Hattiesburg compadre. And he's also an outstanding coach. Went on to coach the Bulls and the Pelicans and USC and all over the place. So I was fortunate to work for some good guys who taught me a lot about how to coach and what to do and what not to do. So I've been fortunate in that regard.
Well, Coach, there was a story told when you got the LSU job as far as your first meeting with your players from LSU. Could you relate that in as clear a version as you could?
Well, I hired two guys that helped me coach at LSU was Kermit Davis, who you all guys know really well, and Butch Pierre is one of the best assistant coaches ever in the country. And, Butch was at Santa Ma played at Mississippi State when I coached there. So I had to hire those two guys. And I remember our first meeting with the LSU basketball team. I think we had 7 players. And I gave this fire and brimstone speech about how we were going to change things and establish a whole new way of doing things. And that first meeting, 3 players quit. So I tell everybody this story. I say, I went to the public school in Macomb, Mississippi, and I'm not the brightest guy on the block, but I do know this. If you have 7 and take away 3, you wind up with 4, and it takes 5 to have a team. So I gave our 4 guys returning a pep talk, and when they left the locker room, it was dead silence. I had Butch Pierre on my left and Kermit Davis on my right. And nobody would say anything, so I finally said, Kermit, you got any suggestions here for this? He says, yeah, John, I got one. I said, what's that? He said, let's don't have any more team meetings. He said, you're going to run the whole team off. That's a true story. Now.
I love that story. It's one of my favorite stories to hear.
John, this is Neil again. You were in college coaching for years, like you said, at Samford and UNO and LSU, and you've seen a lot of changes. And today we've got the NIL, and just recently the NCAA has said that the colleges can pay the players directly. How do you feel about all the changes in collegiate athletics today?
Well, it's a whole new ball game out there now, Neil. I got into coaching because I like teaching guys the right things, holding them accountable for what they're supposed to do. Put a team together and watch it grow by them staying in school, and fans identify with the players by watching them get better each year and your team get better. Now it's a whole different ball game. And plus, I don't think you ought to give anybody anything till they show that they've earned it and they deserve what you're giving them. And I think when you load them up on the front end and they've never caught a pass or made a basket or got a rebound and they're getting something on the front end, I think you're sending the wrong message to young people. And I'm not a big fan of it, but that's the way it is today. And I think fans are getting shortchanged a little bit because they don't get to identify with the players. Like the LSU team this year, we got 8 or 9 new guys. We had 8 or 9 last year. And you know, it's in Ole Miss, it's at Mississippi State, and you don't get to grow and watch the players grow up. So I think it's I don't think it's a good thing for college athletics, but that's where we are today, and you got to get with it and let it go. I saw where LSU, we're going to put aside $20.5 million, and I saw where the football team is going to get $14 million of that to buy their players. Men's basketball is going to get $2.7 million. Kim Mulkey is going to get $900,000. The baseball is going to get $400,000 or whatever, and the rest of them aren't going to get anything. But that's how I think the breakdown. I read that this morning of how LSU is going to distribute the $20.5 million they've got to put aside to make their athletic program go.
Coach Brady, Richard Hay once again.
Yes, sir.
With you on the radio, and I'll say this, you and Coach Williams, that does Mississippi State color, I just enjoy listening to y'all so much. Talk about the fact of how you translate the game on the radio from your coaching days, because y'all make it where you can listen to the game and you can actually see what's happening by how y'all describe it. Talk about how that comes about.
Well, I've probably gotten more credit about being a radio analyst for basketball than I did coaching a team. And I was in Baton Rouge yesterday and having lunch. A couple of people walked over to me and said they enjoy listening to the games, that I explain it the right way. Well, I don't try to do anything but talk about what I see and put it in terms that maybe the audience can understand. And that's how I do it. And Chris Blair, who I work with, lets me talk, and he's a great guy, and he and I become really good friends. So I just kind of explain the game the way I see it. It's nothing that's manufactured. It's just something I see and talk about, and evidently it's come across in a nice way, and you know, I'm grateful for that. I think one of the things with me coming back and doing the radio now for 7 years, it's changed some people's perception of me when I was coaching here, and I think it's one of the reasons that I was elected to be in the LSU Sports Hall of Fame going in with this class, along with my good friend Cornelia Gayton from Boca Chica. She's going in as well, and she's a wonderful lady, and she and I have gotten to be really good friends over the years, and I'm happy for her too.
John, I saw where you had been to, was it Kuwait last year?
Right.
How'd that come about?
Well, Tim Floyd had been over there before with a guy named Kale, K-E-L-L. He's been carrying coaches over there for 20 years, and Tim needed somebody to go, and he called me, and we were the 3 bases that they're talking about now that are on red alert. We toured all 3 of those bases. We stayed on the Army base in Kuwait, and we went to the Air Force base. It's 50 miles from the border, and so it was interesting. We coached the servicemen that I coached a team. Tim Floyd, we had Pete Carroll went as the football coach now at the Raiders, Las Vegas. We had several coaches around the country go, And I was really impressed with the young people that are in the service, the discipline, the appreciation, the organization of it. It was really impressive, and I was glad to see that because, well, in the opening ceremonies, the gym was full of all servicemen. They did the national anthem. A young lady sang it. Everybody stood up, saluted, whatever you needed to do, and just the discipline and the organization is what I really appreciated because sometimes I think some of that is lost in our everyday life, and it was good to see the way they conduct themselves in the service when you're right there in the middle of it.
John, this is Neil again. Let's get away from the present for a second and let's go back to the 1960s in Macomb. As I recall, there was a time in your life when you wanted to emulate Sandy Koufax, and later it was Pete Maravich.
That's right.
Talk a little bit about that. Well,
you were around there, Neil, when I was an up-and-coming left-handed young Sandy Koufax. I think I struck Robbie out a couple of times.
I don't remember none of that stuff. None, some at all, I believe that.
But that was right. You know, my mother was a white. You know, Eddie and Becky and Sonny and all those guys. Right. You know, you're familiar with that family. They're all athletic, and my grandfather used to love to come watch and play, and they were all in the athletic side. The Brady side wasn't quite like that. But yeah, I was going to be Sandy Koufax. That was my hero, and I believe I did throw a game of 18 up, 18 down one time, a perfect game in Macomb one time. But when I got to high school, I remember that. And then Pete Maravich came along. I started getting into basketball. Met Coach Nelson, and he was a big influence on my life, as you all know. And I just quit playing summer ball, and I played with the high school team, and we had some success there as well. But then the basketball thing took off, and I had some success there. I enjoyed going through integration, and with at that time in Macomb, I think that basketball team in '72 had a lot to do with a positive influence on other people. We all got along. We won a bunch of games, kind of brought the community together. And Bruce Gilmore, Ralph Moore, Obadiah, Aaron Thompson, they're all good friends of mine to this day.
One final question, John. In the Charlie Ruggs book, there's a chapter there about you taking Coach Ruggs to the national championship. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I was thinking about what can I do for someone that's done a lot for me. And John Treelor was on my staff then, who played at Belhaven as well, played baseball there. And Treelor now works in the Atlanta Hawks organization. And we were talking about that, and he came up. He said, how about Coach Rugg and Miss Rugg? I said, I'll call them right now. And I called Coach Rugg, and I said, Coach, we're going to the Final Four. I said, I want to bring you and Miss Rugg with me. And then they sat on the plane. Coach Rugg was on the bus. I let him speak to the team. He was in on all our coaches' meetings before the game that we played UCLA. He went to a little thing that Jim Nance hosted for the head coaches, and he stood Coach Rugg up and recognized him being there because I had mentioned it to Jim Nance that he was with me. And then when we had a ceremony, we got back in Baton Rouge, we gave out Final Four rings to the team and special people. I invited Coach down, and I gave him an LSU Final Four ring, and he wears it to this day. Everywhere he goes, he has it on. He's really proud of it. So that's how that chapter came about in the book that Charlie Chase is writing about Coach Rugg.
One final thing, we came to your press conference when you got as the head basketball coach at LSU. What was the feelings of John Brady that day that he stood up and saw all those television cameras and all those people out there on the day he was introduced as the head basketball coach at LSU?
Scared to death. You know what's that saying? Be careful what you wish for. It might happen.
Yeah, when you caught it, what were you gonna do with it?
Yeah, I was right in the middle of it. I said, "Oh my!" And then Dale Brown sitting out there, and he'd been there 25 years. I followed a legend, and Joe Dean Sr. hired a no-name coach that nobody ever heard of. So that's why I'm always appreciative to the Dean family. Joe Dean Sr., and you guys all know him through being around Dixie up at Southwest and all, and he changed my life. And I will always be grateful for him for giving me that opportunity.
John, thanks for taking the time to be with us this morning. We sure appreciate it.
Anytime, guys.
Thank
Good
you,
talking
John.
to you.
John Brady,
All right.
former head coach of the LSU Tigers, Macomb High School standout. Never will forget, Neil, when we went to the press conference. What was it, me and you? And,
That's me and you.
And looked around, I looked to the back. John came from Samford University, not Stanford. Samford University in Alabama. Looked to the back of that room, and I had to be 15, 16 cameras all perched up there, and all these people sitting around. And then when they introduced John as the head coach, you could tell that is about as big a situation that he had ever been in.
I remember that very well. I also remember the night that John took his Samford team into LSU and beat Dale Brown. And, Robbie, would it be okay for me to share a story about going to Southeastern?
Go ahead.
John?
Watch it.
Yeah.
I don't know which one it is, but I do know a one.
Well, I know
we could be in trouble for.
I know we're on the air, and Randy won't have to cut us off. But John would come to Southeastern, and they were in the same conference at that time, and a bunch of us would go. And the younger people, led by several highly influential people in our community who I won't name, Robbie was among them, and there was a roofer among them. There was also a tree surgeon among them. But anyway, they would come down early, and they would enjoy the trip. Anyway, we'd go eat. But Bobby Nelson and I would come because we had to work until. So we got down there, and we went to the game, and game was over. There was also an accountant there.
Yeah.
Y'all may know. And anyway.
I think we pretty well named them all.
They had had some knee highs and some Dr. Peppers and some A&W root beers on their way down.
They came in the can.
Came in cans.
Yeah.
And so they were going to just throw them out on the campus when we left. And Coach Nelson says, no, guys, y'all can't do that. We're guests here. And the accountant said, you're right, Coach. So they bagged them up. And
it's several bags.
2 big bags, and they tied them to the back of the Samford bus. Good Baptist institution there in Birmingham. John said later on they were on their way back to the hotel, and the bus driver had to stop. He thought the transmission had fallen out.
When the bags broke open, everything broke loose. We had a lot of fun with John when he was a coach, that's for sure. We'll come back. It's time to talk to our good buddy Reese Dudley. We'll go overtime with Big Daddy right after this.
Sports. And now sports.
You're listening to Chasing Foul Balls on SuperTalk Pike County 93.5 and streaming everywhere on the SuperTalk Mississippi app. Chasing Foul Balls is presented by Rainbow Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Macomb and by First Bank and brought to you by East Macomb Body Shop and Guy's Pharmacy. Now back to Chasing Foul Balls on SuperTalk Pike County 93.5.
Welcome back, Super Talk, Pike County, 93.5, Chasing Foul Balls, Friday morning edition. Looking for a bank that feels like home? First Bank is here for you. 14 locations across southern Mississippi, and we're a local bank for checking, savings, loans, and more. Whether you're buying a home, starting a business, or just need everyday banking made easy, First Bank is ready to help. Stop by your nearest branch or you visit firstbankmississippi.com today. That's First Bank, where customers and community matter most. Member FDIC, equal housing lender, and we sure appreciate First Bank and Rainbow Dodge Jeep Ram out at 101 Rainbow Way for sponsoring Chasing Foul Balls Friday morning edition here on Super Talk Pike County. Good morning, Big Daddy.
Hey, Robbie.
How are you, sir?
Start here, because anyway can adjust volume in my ear. It's down real low this morning.
He just turned the magic knob.
Okay.
First of all, you and I made many trips over to Coach McNellis's house. I'm sure you were sad to hear that Coach Joy Lee McNellis had passed away.
Yeah, Robbie was, she's a remarkable lady, a sweet lady, and I always enjoyed having her around. And I know she was really good to us. And as you mentioned, we did the show from her house, if I remember right. I know we were over there and around her pool, and she had a hard fight, a really hard fight. I had heard about a week or so ago that she was going downhill pretty fast, and she just got elected to the Memphis Sports Hall of Fame, and was looking forward to that. I think in July she was going to be inducted into that, and she didn't make it, and I felt sorry for that. But she's very well missed in Hattiesburg.
Reese, this is Neil. Good to hear your voice this morning, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Staying on girls basketball at Southern Miss, the Southern Miss faithful have to be excited about getting Missy Milder back in, even though, you've lost a legend in Joy Lee McNellis.
Yeah, Missy was, I think, everybody's choice when Joy Lee finally decided she had going to step down. She really struggled the last 2 years trying to even make it in the ball games. But I think Missy was no question, the person that everybody wanted. I go back, and I know Robbie goes back to the time when we did a few Park Lane basketball games, girls basketball games, and she was coaching at Presbyterian Christian. I always thought she was a great coach, and she was always really nice to us, and I've always kind of had that, carried that torch for her because of those days, and she's had a lot of great success. And kind of ironic how it worked out for her and for her husband to come back to Columbia and coach football, and it all kind of fell into place.
Reese, this is Richard. Since we have one astute umpire sitting with us, and I know you umpired games along the way.
You got that astute right, correct.
Yes. Give us your take on the first inning of what was a great series, but it seems like we spend more time here lately talking about the situation in the first inning. But what was your take on it?
Well, I think it was a terrible lapse of good judgment by the umpire, in that particular situation in that game. And evidently he's had a history of a quick trigger, and he showed it. And the whole thing was kind of like comedy of errors. I thought, first of all, it was loud and nobody could hear what was going on. If you watched on TV, you couldn't hardly hear the commentators because the noise was so loud. And the thing started to unfold, and I'm not sure the message got across to anybody. And when he stepped out to ask what the suspension or ejection was about on his first base coach, and he got tossed too, and then the guy fell down. The other umpire did a flop and fell down on the ground, and then it was escalated to two-game suspension, and the whole thing just went south there. I thought it was very unfortunate for Coastal, who fought hard in that first game and losing 1-0, and I think they had things with Morrison on the mound to a possibility of trying to come back and even that series, and that kind of just got away from them there. And one inning, and that's the rest is history, I guess you say.
Let me ask you this, Reese, since you're a big college football fan. You wear your favorite team's gear. Which would you rather not have? A terrible color scheme or a terrible mascot?
I guess a terrible mascot, Robbie. That's kind of the face of whatever you're wearing. Fortunately, ours is, I think, pretty good and was developed by a local Macomb guy who designed our mascot look, and I'd go with you really want a good mascot.
Reese, Neil again. What do you hear coming out of Coach Charles Huff's football program? Any news that we hadn't seen or heard of that you insiders may have?
Well, Coach Huff is steady on a roll trying to recruit. I don't know when the man sleeps. It seems like he's got something going on all the time. And, I hope to get him on this show a little bit later on, but he's a hard man to get in touch with because he's still working the portal and working on future classes. He got a couple of big commitments here recently. I think he's put together a heck of a roster and a heck of a future roster down the road in Hattiesburg and address the needs of linebacker and quarterback. And, you always need cornerbacks. And so he's been working hard. And, of course, defensive tackle being the hardest position, I think, to find in college right now other than quarterback. And he just got a big commitment from a defensive tackle. So, I think things are really on the up and up. I look forward to the season starting.
I asked the other guys early in the show, Reese, the NCAA has a week 0 that you play. Some teams play. They say that you have to apply for a waiver to be able to play in week 0, that Labor Day is the official start for the football season. Why in the world would you have a week 0?
Yeah, me, Robbie, I always thought that was unusual. First of all, the season starts way too dead-gum early, I think. Here in the South, particularly, we're going to play Mississippi State at 11:30 in August, and it's going to be about 150 degrees.
In the shade.
And I think the season starts way too early, so why do you want to move it out to week 0, I think it's all in who's counting, and NCAA does some weird things.
Well, it's one stuttering say follow the money now. They say that the NCAA is looking at starting the football season in week 0.
Yeah, it's. I guess we'll be playing from July the 4th to Christmas now.
Reese, now that college baseball season's over with and what we got, I don't know how many days. I think we're somewhere around 70 or something days till week 0. What's Big Daddy going to do? How are you going to fill your sports need? What are you going to be watching? Is it just keeping up with the portal in football and baseball and basketball? Is that probably what you'll be doing?
Yeah, I'll be reading my boards and all that kind of stuff, but it's really the dog days of sports for me right now. There's nothing on TV and very little other than talk shows, podcasts. Very good podcasts come out. One with Rick and Tyler Cleveland just the other day with Scott Berry on his election to the Sports Hall of Fame, and you kind of can fill in some of your situations like that. But look forward to start of football practice. To me, that begins football.
Reese, 2 quick questions. Number one, were you and the Munray family at the baseball regional, and do y'all have all of your season tickets lined up for the coming year?
Oh yes. Yeah, I don't think Little Daddy will ever relinquish our tickets even after I'm gone. Yeah, we made the regional and enjoyed it. Wish we'd have won, but that's part of it. We've had a pretty good run and regionals and super regionals here recently, and I tell a lot of folks I take 47 wins in a regional every year. When you look around the landscape, how many teams can't say that? And ninth consecutive 40-win season, and I actually 10th now, I think, in Hattiesburg. And, the things are rolling. They're trying to find more places to put seats and Pete Taylor.
At the Harvard of the South, right?
You got it, buddy.
We'll be back to wrap this up. Reese, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
All right, bud.
Well, guys, another week in the Chasing Foul Ball history. How about that?
As usual, enjoyed it. Sorry I missed last week, but it's great to be back with you guys and of course, with our top flight engineer.
Always a pleasure, Robbie. It's, like I said, a lot of great news going on in this part of the world, and I'm just glad to be talking about it.
Hey, congratulations to Elijah Martin, chosen in the NBA draft with the Toronto Raptors. Pick number 39. That's pretty good for a Pike County guy, no doubt about it. We'll be back next Friday, Chasing Foul Balls, Friday morning edition, right here on SuperTalk Pike County.
SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production. A SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production.